Okay, now we're going to go through setup and calibration of an Orion in the Galaxy Station. The first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and plug the Galaxy Station in, and as you can see, I have the AC charger and it plugs in right back here in the back of the unit on the underside. Once it's plugged in, you're going to want to wait for the Galaxy to warm up. In the meantime, you can go ahead and take your Orion and turn that on, allow that to warm up and get to reading mode. Okay, as you can see, our Orion is all set and in read mode, and the Galaxy reads date, time, and insert instrument. So at this time, the first thing we're going to want to do is actually to verify our calibration gas values, and we're going to go over all the setup menus. So to get into the setup, if you press down, first option you come to is view data. The next option is change setup. We're going to go into change setup by hitting the OK button, and it's going to ask for a password, and the default password is always 672. So if we scroll down to 672, hit OK, it tells you the password is OK, and now we're in general setup. If we scroll down, the next option is test setup, and the final option is gas setup. Actually, there's also network setup, but we won't be covering that. So we'll go back to gas setup, go in. As you can see, it says cylinder 1. We hit OK. You can either add a cylinder by part number, or you can add a cylinder by entering each gas value individually. We're going to go ahead, enter the concentrations individually, and if we, first one we come to is our LEL. We want to verify that is in fact 58% on the bottle. We hit OK. Our O2 is at 15%, so that's correct. The next one is CO, and that is set to 300 parts per million, and that is in fact where we should be. And the last one is H2S, and that should be set at 10 parts per million, which is also correct. The last option for gas 5 should be set to none. So if we go ahead and hit OK, everything looks good there. We can go to back. This time we're just going to show you briefly that the H2S on our bottle is set to 10 parts per million. Our carbon monoxide is set to 300 parts per million. The bottle also contains methane at 29% LEL, 1.45% by volume, which is 58% LEL pentane stimulant. Our oxygen is at 15%, so we are all set there. The Galaxy Station appears to be set correctly for this bottle of gas. So our next thing we want to do is go back into the setup and just go over a few other of the options. Obviously from here you can view any calibration data that was previously on the unit. As I showed before, the SD card, you can also use all the files on the SD card are in a .txt format, which can be opened by virtually any computer with a notepad or Microsoft Word. So we want to go back into change setup. Go ahead and re-enter the password, which was 672. And we're just going to go over a few other of the setup options. If we go to 672, hit enter, password OK. This time we're going to go into general setup. And in the general setup, you can set the time, you can set the date, you can set the instrument time and date, which just means that the Galaxy will update the time and date of the Orion that you insert into it. You can set the overdue, which just raises a flag that the unit is due for calibration. You can turn the buzzer on and off. You can turn the password, or you can change the password. You can put the unit in a power save mode, and you can change the instrument cal mode. This one, can turn on or off. And the last one is the database. If we go there, the internal database, you can turn off if you don't wish to store any of your calibration data. Okay, so that does it for the general setup. And we, this time, can go into the test setup. And these are our options. You can either calibrate the unit only, you can bump the unit only, or you can do a bump. And then if it fails the bump test, the unit will then be calibrated. We're just going to leave it at calibration only so that it calibrates a unit every time it's inserted into the Galaxy station. As I said, we're not going to go over the network setup. And that does it for setup. It looks like we are fully prepared to calibrate our Orion at this time. Okay, now that we've gone over all the setup, we can go ahead and start our calibration. As I said before, the Galaxy must show insert instrument. If it doesn't show insert instrument and you insert an instrument into it, it's probably not going to connect. Same with the Orion itself. It must be in standard read mode before you insert it into the Galaxy. Otherwise, the two are not going to connect. So standard read mode, insert instrument. We're ready to go ahead and raise the lid. As you can see here, there's a little burr that we are actually has an O-ring on it. And you want to be careful when you insert the instrument in. You want to insert the instrument backwards and upside down, oddly enough. Go ahead and make sure the unit's set in there nice and tight. Close the lid. Make sure the lid's closed. Give it a nice firm push until you hear a click. And you'll hear the beeps. As you see here, Orion serial number 60347. So it identified the Orion. This Orion has in fact been in this Galaxy and been calibrated before. Otherwise it would have asked you to enter the serial number. And you don't really have to use the serial number. You can use any identification number that you may have for that Orion. Be it your own means of identifying them or an asset tag, whatever you choose, a tool ID maybe. As we can see here, it's going through the fresh air. Okay, it says success 0, please wait. Next thing it's going to do is apply the cal gas, and right here is usually typically where I have seen you will, if there's any sort of blockage in flow or your cylinder may be empty, you'll get a low flow error. So you always want to verify that you have gas in your cylinder as well. So it's going to go ahead and calibrate, and our readings should be close to what they are on the bottle, which again was 58% on the LEL, 15% on the O2, 300 parts per million of CO, and 10 parts per million H2S. As you can see, we're pretty close. Should only be another second now. And whether or not the unit passes or fails the Orion, you'll be able to tell by the indicators here, the pass and the fail. Okay, it's updating the database. As you can see, the pass light indicator is illuminated, and it says cal complete. And you want to go ahead and lift the lid, pull the unit out, and you're all finished. That completes the calibration.